Welcome to Prestige Motorsports. We're going to explain our complete process from start to finish. These 10 steps will take our engines the extra mile. We start with hand-picked cores. We oven bake them, we shot peen them, and we go ahead and have them magnafluxed. We check them at 40 psi also for cracks. Then we go ahead and thread chase all of the threaded holes in the block, including the mains and the heads, and this ensures a smooth assembly process and proper torque specs. We pipe tap each oil galley plug. We clearance for double roller timing chain sets. Then we rethread a plug in to make sure we have adequate engagement. And then we'll deburr and stroker clearance. We also flap each oil galley, and this is going to ensure we remove any debris left behind. And those deposits removed will ensure good bearing life. We move on to the machining and make sure that we align hone each main journal. We square deck the blocks. We check for desired deck height, as well as use the boring true plate while boring, and we hone with torque plates. After our preparation and machining is completed, then we go to the cleaning process. At this point, we're going to use high pressure solvents to wash out all the oil passages, all the bolt holes, and we'll brush clean the cylinders. And this is arguably the most important process to make sure we remove any debris. Now we'll go ahead and we'll clean every hole, including the lifter bores, and then move on to a hot soap and water brush cleaning, which again, extremely important. Not only is the finish important on the cylinder wall, but cleaning to make sure we have proper ring seal. Now after rinsing, we want to make sure that we apply an anti-rust agent. Whether or not the block is still wet, this is crucial because we cannot have our cylinder walls rust. So again, we will blow them dry, and we will, after rinsing, we will make sure to again apply the anti-rust agent to all the machine surfaces and the cylinder bores as quickly as possible. We then go ahead and blow this block dry using a paint thinner on the outside to ensure that when we go to our painting process that our primer is adequately adhered to the block for a good professional looking finish on the paint. Once this block is removed, we're going to move it to our painting area, and depending on what a customer wants, we do offer standard paint as well as taping the complete block off and doing a paint and primer process, doing base coat, clear coat to customers' color specs and so forth. We then go ahead and recheck the cleanliness of our block by pushing a small piece of rag coated in thinner to make sure that our oil galleys and the rest of the block is clean before we assemble it. At this given point, we'll install all the galley plugs, we'll install our cam bearings, and we're going to check it with a mirror. And the reason being, we want to make sure it's correctly lined up for adequate oiling. And we're going to use that mirror to check that. We then apply an amount of a lubricant to our bolts as well as the mating surface for the bolt, and we do this to ensure proper torque specs. We go ahead and we torque these main caps on with the bearings installed, and then we'll go ahead and check the main bore clearance. And we're going to check this clearance against the crankshaft measurements. We record all specifications on our build sheets. We'll then move to confirming our bore size, and we'll check this in 3 different places. We'll then set a ring in with a proper installation tool, so that way we can properly size and file fit each and every ring to each cylinder. This shows you a professional layout before assembly. Here we are showing chamfering our bearings, and this is important for clearance for the radius on the crankshaft. Here we check our rod clearances as well as the piston. We check the small end of the rod, the large end, as well as the piston pin area, and we record those measurements. Then we measure the crankshaft, and we're measuring the crankshaft against the measurements we've taken previously, as in the rod as well as our mains. And we record these. And the importance of this is to basically have a record of what our specifications were, and we provide this to our customers as well. This is great documentation. Now we assemble the rod to the piston, and we go ahead and clean our rings before we install them, and we strategically install the rings on the pistons. We then coat our bearings before we gently lay the crank into place. And that kind of leads us to closer to the last step of our process. We'll go ahead and torque our main caps down, and then we'll check for proper end play. Once that is done, we'll start to install the camshaft, and during the installation we will lubricate the cam as it goes in. We will then lubricate the cylinder walls, as well as lubricate the pistons and rings, and then use a proper installer and gently slip the piston into place. Once in place, we torque the rods to specification, and then we'll check for our proper camshaft end play. Then we degree the cam for best performance results, and then coat the snout of the crank to install our balancer. We then check piston to deck clearance to align proper timing pointer. Lube the lifter bores, install the lifters and the valley tray. Then install the oil pump and the shaft, and point out that each oil pump pickup is welded to the pump. We then clearance for push rod clearance, and we CC and assemble the heads. Lightly coat the valves, install them, check for spring height, lubricate the valves, install the seals, and then install the springs. Now once the heads are torqued into place, we check for proper rocker arm alignment, and then we go ahead and torque and coat the tips, install the rockers, lubricate them, and go ahead and do our valve adjustment. Once the gaskets are in place, we go ahead and put a thin film of silicone to seat the manifold, and then torque it to spec and clean the residual. We then go ahead and lubricate and install the pump. We also glue the valve cover gaskets to the valve cover, and final dress the engine with the water pump by torquing it into place. We go ahead and install the crankshaft pulley, as well as the power steering pump and other accessories. And when we do this, we go ahead and check for proper alignment. And this is crucial for belt tracking. So we check the alignment on various areas. We go ahead and install the other components and check again for alignment, and then set our belt tensions. Other than the video of dyno testing, these are the 10 steps that take our engines the extra mile. Thanks for watching, and look for other videos online that show you different portions of our build process and other options we can offer.